Recording. Can you make sure all the microphones are turned on? Because I could barely hear you.
How about now?
I can hear you now. Make sure everybody else has their mics on and the podium mic has to be on too.
Testing from Sue Vale.
Five?
On the dot, you can. Or
Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, called to order Wednesday, April 26th, 2:30 p.m. Pledge. All present is Carlos Cifarelli.
Robert Lewis.
Susan Vale.
Robert Vertrees.
Kim Blonigan is called in.
Oh, I do have a public comment request from Carol, and it's with two board comments.
Hello.
I'm Carol, and I am on.
Can you make sure the mic's on? I can't hear.
All right, hold on. We're at Georgia.
No, up here. But it should be, oh,
No. We're at on the.
Number one, hold it in until the green light comes on.
We're good. Go. Sorry.
Okay, all right. I'm Carol Pancaw. I'm on the CDD board and I'm your liaison between this advisory committee and the CDD. When not at our last meeting, but the meeting before, I gave a little short report about your previous meeting here. And we had a bit of discussion, and one of the things I wanted to bring to your attention was in that discussion, there was some talk about that the CDD board was kind of looking for an advisory board that would give them a big picture of the whole district, not necessarily little programs, although those are important and, you know, to put in place also, but kind of a big picture about what you feel the community of Gateway would like to see as far as parks and recs. Not necessarily specific programs, but to look at the property also and say, okay, we need a baseball field here. We need this here. We need this here. We need a nursery playground over here. We need this over here. That sort of thing. The board is kind of looking for a big picture. Now, this doesn't come overnight. The board understands that, but because you guys represent the Gateway area, It's something I'd like to bring to your attention and kind of put it in the back of your minds as you're going through your agenda items, and particularly as we're moving closer to budgeting now. Chelsea, of course, has asked everybody about what kind of projects do you want and where do you want them? So I also had some discussions with other people, and it seems that if you take Pelican Preserve out of the gateway picture, you guys are basically just concerned about the gateway area that's left, not Pelican. So, and Pelican has lots of amenities, so just take that out of your minds. If you then look at the community, I think I was talking with Chelsea yesterday and she said there's really only 4 areas that could be developed yet. And 2 or 3 of them already have plans for development. So Gateway itself is pretty much built out. And she was also telling me that based on the census figures, if you just look at Gateway, about half of the community is families, professionals, highly educated professionals, and the others are about 50% is seniors, taking Pelican out of the picture. So the board also wanted you to consider this mix of people that you would be making recommendations for and serving. So those are some of the comments from the board back to you, and I'll be taking your comments back to the board at our next meeting. Thank you.
I don't have any other comments, any other public comments. Oh, here, let me see your paper then. Go ahead, Martin, say your name and it's with regards to improvements to the pool.
Correct.
Right.
Martin Conley, I live in Devonshire Lake Circle. I'm a regular attendee at the big pool. And in talking with Tim and Chelsea and Dave, we come up with, well, Dave actually started an advisory committee and just kind of, thinking about what could help. And one of the things would be a covered, like a pergola or something, so that those not swimming could be out of the direct sunlight. And be a place for little kids, take their little nap in the afternoon. And be one more reason to go to the pool. We've increased attendance this year through efforts by Dave and Tim, and we're trying to get more people to come like it used to be. And that's the only thing I have. And I gave Tim some pictures and some prices, some suggestions for pergolas and a freestanding area covered where you can just go and relax. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have anybody else who signed up. If you wanna. Yeah, okay, if you wanna grab, you can fill out the form after, but if you wanna go ahead and come on up and give your public comment.
My name is Cheryl Moliterno, and I want to talk to you about the dog park. As you can see in front of you, there are requests that the dog park members have to better the parks. New Bermuda sod, the sod that they had put in previously is not dog friendly. They have too many issues digging up the grass. There's one area that has Bermuda grass. The dogs don't even bother with it. Purchase better quality chairs. The residents had originally purchased chairs and then it was removed by the former district manager. We would be willing to purchase chairs, a better quality, and give them to Gateway Services for them to mark as property of Gateway. But one request we have is if we could put the dog's name on the back of the chair. Anybody can sit in the chair, but we would like to do that. We thought it would be like a little friendly gesture. The tarp. At the far right of the dog park, there was a tarp. For some reason, the tarp was removed again by the former district manager. Tim told me a new tarp would cost $350. I'd like to know what happened to the old tarp, which did not have a problem. It was still fully effective, but it was removed. So before we spend the money, I'd like to find out where, if somebody knows where that tarp went. And last of all, Tim had suggested a take one, leave one book stand be created outside the dog park, which members could utilize by taking a book and leaving a book. Would make it more friendly. And I thank you.
Thank
Yeah. All right, I don't have any other public comments signed up. If you want to move to the next item of the approval of the minutes,
Approval of the minutes from last month's meeting.
looking for a motion for approval
I motion for approval.
Second, Robert Lewis.
and call all those in favor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Do you have those minutes that need to be signed? All right. The next item is, it's the financial report. Laura is actually going live with our accounting software this week. And I know I've kept promising you financial reports, but, we will have our new system up and running. And depending on when your next meeting is, we should be able to produce Parks and Rec report. But our financials, just so everyone knows, our monthly financials do go out in the board packet at the second meeting of each month under administrative items or administrative monthly reports. So those are always available online for anybody who would like to look at our financials.
All right, and the next item on the list is new member selection.
So you had a couple members apply for we have a couple vacancies. Bill resigned in between meetings. Maria, as I know, is out on vacation, so I believe we have two vacancies. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, two vacancies. So, and I believe we've got a couple of the applicants in the audience and one online. Kim is online. I know Dave Ruth is here. I don't know, Ed. Hi, Ed. Nice to meet you. So we've got all three of the applicants. So if you'd like to invite you, this is totally your call, but you can invite each of them just to talk for a minute or two. Or you can just simply make a recommendation on which two you would like to recommend to the Board of Supervisors to put on this committee.
Yeah, I think everybody should go talk for a minute if they'd like.
Okay, would you like Kim to start since she's online?
Sure.
Kim, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Hi, my name is Kim Blonigan. I live in Magnolia Lakes. I am interested in becoming a board member on the Parks and Recs Committee. I think it's important to be involved in the community, which I think is a great stepping stone for all of our ages. By becoming involved, you get to know the people. You can be the voice of the committee, or I'm sorry, the voice of the community, bringing forth parks that everyone can enjoy. And so I'm really looking at reestablishing to an area. We just moved in 2.5 years ago. So I used to be very involved in Minnesota when I lived up there. Have moved down to Florida. I've been in Gateway now at 2.5 years. And so really miss that part of my life I've actually created bunco groups, a babysitting co-op, and been part of a welcoming committee up in Minnesota. And so trying to kind of get my feet wet and get back into that type of realm, getting to know people. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Does
Thank
any-
you.
Do you have any questions you want to ask her?
Will your participation always be over the air, or will you actually be able to be in person?
I could be in person, if, like, today I had a meeting that butted up to this meeting, so I wasn't able to attend, but, there are, if I don't have any other meetings that bump up to it, I'd be happy to attend in person.
Do you have any hobbies or sports activities that you personally do, which would bring a level of expertise to the committee, as well as being able to come up with ideas for community folks to do?
Yep, I, I mean, right now I don't belong to any clubs since I moved to Gateway. And so that's what I'm kind of looking for again is community involvement. Prior to my living here, like I said, I developed a babysitting co-op when my kids were younger, and that was exchanging babysitting services amongst 16 different families without having to exchange money. So we created a babysitting co-op where mostly mothers, I mean, we did have couples sometimes too do it together, but it was not only to meet other people and have our children have play dates, but we also were able to exchange those services. So we knew of other families that could babysit. So it's, I don't know, reassuring to have another mother take care of your child versus a high school kid. Same thing with our bunco group. That was a monthly gathering that we would get together, kind of a reason to get together, socialize, have fun. But since I've moved down here, I haven't joined anything. So I'm looking at going out. I spend a lot of time on Nextdoor trying to kind of poke around to see what's going on, to see what piques my interest. I do quilt. I play board games a lot with friends and family, play cards. Of course, I enjoy going to the casinos, eating out, having drinks, stuff like that as well.
Thank you.
So next, thank you, Kim. Next would be Ed Moore. On up to the mic.
Thank you. I'm Ed Moore, and you will almost always see me in red sneakers because that's the name of my business. So when you see me even in a suit, I'll have red sneakers on more than likely. So you can make fun of those. Quite okay with that. I would like to be on the board because I want to make a difference. I'm involved in the East Lee County Chamber of Commerce. I've been on the board there for a number of years, making a difference in Lehigh and all of the infrastructure and everything there. I'm big on doing events. I'm tied into the school board. The last event that we did with the East Lee County Chamber was last month, and it was the Top Chef Student Scholarship Challenge. And basically, it's where the culinary department has a runoff of their students, and they come up with the top 3. And we do a Top Chef Challenge where they actually cook for judges, and the winner gets scholarship money. One of the judges was obviously the superintendent. The mayor was a judge. I was a judge because we were a sponsor and I put the whole thing together. I am an active member of the dog park. You'll see Sydney and Bristow out there playing and running and doing what they do. I go to the pool regularly, not in season. I'm an avid fencer. I like to rock climb. What else do you want to know about me?
Can you run his bio in here also,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
just the interest part?
I'm a chef wannabe.
So does anybody have any questions for Mr. Moore?
How long have you lived in Gateway?
30 years.
Okay, so, I see that you do writing and playing music.
Mhm.
And one of the activities that we're looking towards developing here in the community is music in the park. And as an and I kind of quasi became in charge of it, but I don't have experience in, well, I have some experience in music production, but it sounds like you would have even more experience, so.
I played professionally for a while in my early days. I now have a studio in my home where I do write music and record music. I didn't have enough time to do this, but I did connect with the band director at the Gateway High School to try and do a Christmas thing together. But it just didn't pan out. I am very music oriented. That is one of my passions, music, culinary, chess, and fencing.
Okay.
And I'm promotion oriented. I mean, that's, you know, I grew up in radio advertising, and that's all about doing promotions and events. So that's kind of where I am.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right,
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
thank you. And we have, come on down, Dave Ruth. I guess I'll pull his bio up too.
Good afternoon. I'm Dave Ruth. I'm a design architect, retired, but I still do work. And I've been very active in the pool. As of February, in February, we put together a task force of people that had concerns. We put a book together of about 30 pages of all of our concerns and ideas that we have to hopefully help the board and Tim and Chelsea with ideas of how to improve and get better usage out of the pool. Pool usage is our major concern. How do we improve that? And we've come up with a bunch of ideas that we have given, put in writing, okay, and have demonstrated not just concerns or complaints, but ways to solve the problems. Recently, over the past month, we put together, this thing kind of turned into a workbook of about 80 pages, and that's what this is, and you can take a look at it before I leave today. It's about 80 pages of, again, ideas, things that everyone at the pool has mentioned might improve the situation there, get more people to come in the evenings, get more people to come at period. Okay, and so I kind of am coming to represent the pool's interest as a member of your group. One of the things that we did over the past week was to put together a list of projects and cost estimates. And I've already given Tim a copy of this, but if you'd like to see kind of how we do things, that's one for each person there. We kind of like listed all of the things that we are kind of our wish list, things that could be done, things that we think will help improve the pool, and costs, our guess at cost for each of those. With my background as an architect, I've done a lot of estimating and putting together groups of people to make decisions as a unit. And that's sometimes the hardest thing to do. It's not hard to bully people to get them to do things, but to get people in alignment that really say, this is what we need to do in order to improve the status of the situation. We're really concerned with all the people who pay for the pool, coming to the pool. So we're going to continue to invite you guys, as well as everyone else that we see, to come and be a member of the Gateway Commons pool. So that list of things to do there are things that Tim and Chelsea can look at, decide this year whether they want to put that in the budget or not. But I know that in June, they're coming up with a budget for every one of us. And trying to come up with each, for the dog park and for the soccer fields and for the pool, that's kind of our version of what the pool needs or could use in order to make it a better place. Again, my background is I'm an architect. I've designed 450 buildings in my lifetime, over 40 some years. And I've taught at 3 different colleges and architectural design and construction, and how to put together groups of people. I've been on a number of committees like yours. And, you know, we always try to get to some consensus, you know, try to get people to where they agree on things. It's not hard to argue for things that are right. It's hard to just bully people and make them do things that maybe aren't always right. So, you know, I'm a firm believer in the community kind of rules and tells us what it needs. One of the comments about that I was thinking of, I've been here for about 2.5 years, and there was an inventory, or I'm not sure quite what to call it, but something about the community that said, this is an idea for the community in terms of a park. Over by the pool, there was a park. And they asked the right questions, or asked some questions, to try to ascertain whether people in the community would support that or not. I think that needs to be revisited, brought up, because there was quite a percentage of people that said, we don't want anything over there. Now, we know that in time, things will change, and people will move in and move out and will want things. Okay, so, you know, maybe some of those things are still, you know, you could still apply some of those things, but we need to really look again. There are some certain board members that have said, don't even bring it up again. You know, we don't want to touch that. And it's almost kind of humorous sometimes to watch how things do change and evolve. So if we could get that, and we could also get better numbers on, you know, we got 50% of the people here are retired, 50% are families. But I'm sitting here going, well, how many people have kids? You know, why should we put kid things in how many parks do we need for kids? You know, the fun park that you guys are dealing with is one of those things. What do we do with the fun park? You know, to me, it's not really that much fun. You know, I go over there and I don't see anybody using. So how do we change things? And again, I've been to a couple of your meetings, and one of the things you guys talked about was moving the basketball court over by the swimming pool and a bunch of those kinds of ideas, and people wanting more places to grow things, to grow plants. And, you know, I'm not sure quite how to resolve some of these things, but I'm an idea kind of person. So the more ideas that we have, the more we can kind of look at ways to improve the park area, have the music, you know.
So that's why you want to join the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why. And I was excited, you know, when he started talking about music. I have 5,000 CDs, okay, that I have purchased over years. And that started as just give me something to do. But, you know, music is really an exciting thing for me. Photography, design, ideas, working with groups of people, and all that stuff. So I put my resume in there, if that means anything to anybody besides me, you know.
So does
Do
anybody
you have any questions?
Yeah, for Mr. Roof?
I could talk all day.
How long have you lived here for?
2.5 years.
Oh.
All right. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
So
Thanks.
again, we have 2 positions that are vacant. Keeping in mind, the third person who does not get selected can always come and participate via public comment, can give feedback, can still participate, just not as a voting member of the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. So we encourage everyone to participate. I'm really happy with the turnout that we have here today, but ultimately, we're looking to you all for a recommendation that will, for 2 members, and we'll take that to the Board of Supervisors at the May 4th meeting.
Okay. So what's the names again? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, let me go to the top. If they want you to, you gotta come
I'm
up to a
fine
mic,
with it.
though, if you do.
That's fine, go ahead. Yeah, sure.
I should have mentioned this, my apologies. I am the president of the Eagle Point HOA for the last year and a half. And I don't know if you've seen any of the work that we've done to take us from being known as the Gateway Ghetto. But we are now in a middle-class situation because we are, we're growing and, you know. Anyway, I just want to let you know that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feel free to talk to any of the homeowners there except four. There are four that don't like me. And, but any of the rest,
All right, so then ultimately we'll look for a motion with two names.
So does anyone want to nominate Kim? No, have it for nomination for Ed.
Yeah, I nominate Ed and David.
I second both.
I second that selection as well.
I agree as well. So then call for all those in favor?
All those in favor of
Aye.
Ed and David?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We will take that recommendation to the Board of Supervisors at May 4th for final official participation in the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. So thank everybody for their time today and coming up and speaking. So we'll go through the rest of the agenda and then, of course, we'll email, as long as the board approves, which we're pretty good with accepting recommendations. We'll get those two gentlemen added to the email blast list and we'll go from there. So, all right.
All right, so the next item up at the session is the parks rules and regulations, which we started last session, correct?
So again, I want to reiterate, this is a very, very rough draft. We realized quickly that we have different facilities and amenities that are out there that have posted rules that may not have been formally adopted by the Board of Supervisors. So what we've done is taken how we're operating or how we've been operating with the said rules that are out there, posted rules, threw them on a document. They're a draft. They can be changed, they can be edited, added, geez, always amended. So we're looking for your input. I do know Maria provided in writing a copy of her edits. But again, there's no rush to push this or approve this or pass this. We just wanted to get a document that
We want to get it right.
Yes.
Before we present it.
yes, absolutely.
Robert Lewis, Tim, did you add in the part about at the pool, no glass within a certain area of the pool deck or the pool? Because the worst thing would be have broken glass.
Yes, I believe, we did not add it to this yet, but although we do have it on the signs there, that
Okay.
needs to go into this. Maria may have done it. So we'll just make a note here.
So Carl, how would you like to, would you like to go page by page or would you like to, how would you like to do this?
I guess page by page would be fine.
So, and I know we went through some of these last time.
Right.
Um, and I don't, do you know if the edits were made to it or not?
They were not.
Okay, the edits were not
Right.
made because we still had comments.
So I think we discussed the top one, the overview.
Yep,
The
we did
Sherman
that.
Soccer Complex should probably be
The broader, all of them.
Gateway, right?
Yep, all of the assets.
Amenities. Okay. And then the soccer field underneath that, park offers,
So we'll expand that to all of the amenities.
right? And then those few rules, like he said, with the, no glass.
Yeah, I think
Anybody
that
else have
that
anything?
first part really is, that overview really isn't an overview. It's more under the facilities and amenities, that's the Sherman Soccer Park.
Right,
You
that's
know,
what they want to do. They're gonna,
Okay, there,
take that out.
the overview should be, there are 5, there's the soccer
Yes.
park, there's the fun park, there's the pool, there's the linear trail, and what's the other one?
Yeah, well, I'm seeing, I mean, I am
Send
seeing
it off
that in
for-
here.
That's-
This is
Which I guess is part of Sherman.
Oh, this is,
Maria's. Do
Maria.
you
Yeah,
want, us
Maria-
to- do you want us to make a copy of Maria's and then that's the one that you want to go through based on
Yeah.
of her edit?
Yeah, I think last,
Go.
at the last meeting, she had mentioned that she had done a
Yeah,
lot.
all that,
Yeah.
right, right.
So
Okay.
that kind of administrative cleanup, great. If that's already done, we don't need
Yeah, to
to
redo.
redo what she's already done. We can just look at hers and say,
Right.
It was submitted today, so.
yeah, that's fine.
I haven't even had a chance to read through it myself, but, she did take a stab at it and, I think it's worthy of reviewing.
Mhm.
Is this what, 20-page document?
Uh,
Is that what it is?
I don't
Or-
think it's that long.
I saw you scroll through. Oh, okay, that's the.
The pack,
page.
yeah, packet
Yeah,
page.
that's the packet. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's only like 10,
So
what
it's
are we
like
at? Six
six.
pages right now?
Rather than go through this, why don't we just take a look at hers?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
he's
next
making
one.
copies of
Make
it
a
right
copy
now.
of it.
And
Well,
then
we
could
don't,
Look at it for the next meeting.
yeah, that's
perhaps?
what I was just thinking. If, you
Yeah.
know, if she's already done it, let's
Yeah,
look at that and put it as agenda item number 1 on the next meeting and follow up on this instead of spending the next 30 minutes reading 6 pages and.
That's fine. That's totally up to you. Now, did everybody get an opportunity to go check out the facilities?
Yes.
yes.
I've checked them out many times.
I went everywhere. I'm gonna be really honest. I couldn't figure out how to get onto the linear park other than the street here.
That's it.
It's
That's
pretty,
it?
pretty much.
Either the street, yeah, you just walk to it or,
Yeah, it's
you
just a
know,
walkway, really. That's it.
I went
if you need
everywhere.
if you need the
You get-
park, you know, you can
Tim took
illegally
me in
park
his
at the
car.
church or you
Yeah.
can.
Tim took me in the district vehicle.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you want to schedule
Yeah,
that, you
yeah,
can
huge
schedule that with Tim. Be more than
It's
happy.
Okay,
interesting.
there's 3 access points right now. This is Griffin, off of Hampton Park, that road, and then through.
Pool.
No, the
Not the
pool,
Behind the
pool's
pool.
not an access park. There's one of the neighborhoods.
When you go with
Devon
Tim,
Sure,
when you go with Tim, there's an access
Yeah,
behind the pool.
but that's not an official,
But is there any signage for it? There's
not
no
really.
signage.
No, there's nothing. It's just. But
So while he's doing that, I just want to, and we'll get to this probably later on. Probably could have touched on it under financial, but that's all right. We are in budget, like up to here in budget. And so, in talking with a couple of these folks that came today, that have some stake in our amenities, encourage them to provide, I mean, they visit these sites almost daily, probably more so than I visit, truthfully. And so we highly encourage them to provide any recommendations and comments for budget items or for new amenities or make tweaked amenities. And so, like all of the other advisory committees that the district has, the Board of Supervisors have, they'll look to you all for budget recommendations. Now, you're not required to meet just once a month. You set your own agendas. This is your committee. I would highly recommend that we set a budget-only meeting in a week or two, to just go over Parks and Rec amenities and perhaps some of these recommendations that these folks have taken the time to make. Because the board is going to look to you all for what initiatives would you like to see next year? What improvements, if any, would you like to see? And that's really what was the impetus behind getting you all out there and going and taking a look at these facilities. I can tell you, I personally walked them with Flavia a week and a half ago. We have a lot of work to do. 20 years worth of being the redheaded stepchild. It's going to take some time to get back up to par, but I think we all have the same expectations, high expectations for all of our amenities. And I think that's something that we need to consider moving forward. We're working on establishing a 10-year capital improvement plan. The board has seen a rough draft of it. They've also had a capital reserve study done. Just in the last week, Tim did a whole entire inventory of all of our assets that we have at each of these facilities. We're going to turn that asset list into a safety checklist. So we're making progress. But ultimately, from the budget perspective, I would strongly encourage you all to set up another meeting here in the next week. At least we have to have a week's worth of notice for the agenda, but We do plan on taking a draft budget to the board at their second meeting in May, which is May 18th. I would love to include what your comments or recommendations are to them at that time.
Thank you.
The final, we call it the high water mark, has to be adopted by June 15th. So the board has to make that final adoption by June 15th. The final budget will get approved in sometime in August, but some of these items later on in your agenda are gonna kind of help that discussion for future planning, but I wanted to make you all aware, and I know this is only like our third meeting that we've had, and we have new faces and we have even newer faces hopefully coming on board, so that would be my suggestion to you all is let's try to schedule a meeting a week and a half from now and have it only budget discussion.
So I have a logistical question for you. In the past, somebody would show up at the CDD Board of Supervisors meeting and make a presentation such as, you know, the project's cost for the pool. And so logistically, so we're not duplicating things, would he still be able, or another citizen in the community, show up at the Board of Supervisors, make a presentation, and then they start considering it? Are they going to consider it and say, well, we'll send it down to Parks and Rec Committee? Because what happens if they make a presentation there and then come to us, make the same presentation? We have duplication.
So we can't stop anybody from making a
Right.
public comment. We encourage public comment. Being this was a newly established Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, that's why I encouraged them to come here first. To give you all the opportunity to vet some of their ideas and proposals for next fiscal year. If somebody goes to the Board of Supervisors meeting and has, you know, makes a public comment and makes a presentation, they can consider it at that point, absolutely.
Okay,
So it's nothing's gonna stop them from considering it, other than themselves.
Our group's planning to take things through this committee first.
The pool task force wants to come through you all first before it goes to the board.
okay,
And the pool task force, just so you know, it's not directly affiliated with the district. They're a self-proclaimed task force. Yeah.
We had a platform. We had a vote.
Yeah.
Okay, we wanted people to know that there's people at the pool that have IDs.
Yeah, so
that
Dave,
need to be listened.
Dave has really been the liaison between district staff and that pool task force, but
And as more people learn about the Parks and Rec Committee, the understanding will be there, that things should come through here if they have ideas. So.
all right, so if you wanna. So
Yes, so could we do this at the next meeting then? Well, we have to.
Yeah,
run through it.
I'm moved that we table
Make a
this
motion
discussion
that
until
we
the next
table
one.
it to the next meeting.
And then we can all go through Maria's, edits.
So we have ayes.
Aye.
Just a second, let me get
Sure.
caught up with you all. Okay, so kind of touching back on this next item is the whole Montez Master Park Plan discussion. At the last meeting, we talked about this master park plan that was done a couple of years ago, that from my understanding, the community was against. To Carol's point, the board has said, hey, we want you to look at a big picture perspective. We don't want you to just look at the fun park or just look at the soccer complex. Look at how your decisions or your recommendations would impact the greater Gateway Parks and Rec assets. So what we've done with this, and I thought this would be beneficial, we provided you that whole plan, the cost proposals that were done a couple years back, and we all know that these are extremely out of date
Mhm.
just with the market right now. But it was a good starting point, I think, for you all to have a discussion. This is the master plan that was provided. You see, it was a phased approach. I was not here during the time of this planning, just so we're all clear. So this is new to me as well. I think there are definitely some good ideas here, but what I did have, if it worked, maybe.
Put together a link.
No, it should be here. So you all know that we have the admin building, going up here at this site. I had Tetra Tech overlay what would be the admin building here with the parking lot and then the roadway. We have I believe there's the sidewalk that comes across that connects, that ties into the pool. This was just so you could see how that plays into this bigger park plan. I'm not saying we're sticking with the park plan, but food for thought. We do want to give you some status updates on some of the amenities that, we've made some maintenance to over the since your last meeting. So if you want to touch on those real quick, Tim?
Yeah, so we've gone through the parks, staff has, and updated a lot of the small things that are pretty much visible. When you walk to a park, you want it to look good. And be perfectly frank, and I think we all know they haven't looked good. So we've gone through, done a lot of maintenance and repairs to smaller things, which really is going to give it a better presentation. On the big picture, of course, we have things cooking that we'd like to do on a large scale. We already have bids on certain things, and that's going to be down the road and things that, hopefully you guys can touch on. But in the meantime, we're trying to do any little things we can. And once we get the parks into shape, and with this committee, and hopefully people visiting the parks more, once they start to experience a better parks and rec department, they'll come out a little bit more.
So we, some minor repairs to the fun park
Yeah.
playground.
Oh, this play set, which I don't know if you guys know the history of that one, but it's about 14 years old. We warrantied out some parts on it, that were broken. It took about 6 months to get the parts. So that's one of those touchy things where people will call and say there's a broken part and you just got to say, yeah, I know it's ordered. It's finally done. It is, back in usable shape. However, and this is the fun park one we're talking about, it's got another 6 months life in it altogether. So as we talk about the fun park, let's keep that in mind, as not really having that asset because it's not going to last much longer. So there are things like that we just really got to consider when moving forward with that park.
I'd just like to make a comment because I lived here when this master plan was distributed. And I was a very small part of the community that got to vote and mention. I didn't hear anybody object to the concepts of what we wanted to do. It was all about money. People they said, great ideas, wonderful use of the land. We don't want to spend the money for it. And that's how it was.
It was.
That was the main
And-
objection,
and-
was the money.
To be honest, on the surveys, if you were to have read through the surveys, like anything in Gateway, it ends up being about a 50-50 split. So yeah, some people were for, some people were against. I can't speak to their reasons, be it financial or otherwise, but there was definitely a split.
I mean, there's gonna be no improvements done. There has to be money.
Right.
You're not gonna magically build a new pool.
Well, that's why I think, with all due respect to our representative from CDD, we have to demonstrate to the community in smaller steps improvements that we can do, and then they say, wow, can't you guys do more? Well, we've done this, but it costs money. Well, we like what you're doing. Go ahead and spend more money. And I think if we come up with very big numbers, people are just going to like this. They're going to be overwhelmed and just flat out say, I don't want to spend that money.
I'm really concerned about utilization of some of these places, like the fun park. I have driven by there. I don't know how many times, and I don't see anybody there. And so I'm kind of thinking, great, I understand that the equipment needs to be repaired or replaced, but is that the best way to spend our money? And with all due respect to the pool, it's a very small group, a small percentage of the community that is using it. I was up there. I love it. I think it's beautiful, but I don't know about it. So where's in the big picture, where's the advertising that we have these things? Where are people coming from? How do they even know that it exists? So in a big picture, how do we advertise that we have these great places? Is, you know, we can look at the little things that need to get fixed, and maybe that's how we have to do is fix the little things, but how do we make this more public?
So
For
part of it,
community.
to answer your question, we do have our public information officer and he's really building a big Facebook following and he's posting all kinds of different things. But on an organic or grassroots level, people like Dave, who started his own promotion for the pool, because Dave realized early on that if we want to improve the pool, you need to show attendance.
Right.
So, and that's part of what I'm hoping the committee can do. Doesn't mean that you guys got to bang the drum yourselves, but if you can get each of your constituents or departments or gated communities involved, that's going to be a big help.
Okay, yeah, I don't know how we get it to be that way, because you're not gonna get people to spend the money to be assessed for that amount of money if there isn't a lot of community involvement. I don't feel it. I think it's great. I saw pickleball there and go, yes, we need pickleball. I mean, there's things that we need that would be great to have. But I am concerned about utilization.
Can he? Brother?
I just want to interject what we've done at our community. Before I was voted in, we had nothing as far as community. And my goal was to bring community back to our neighborhood. And we started last year with a chili cook-off for the first time. It's free. I mean, no, you know, other than the food that each individual decided to cook. And our first year, we had 25 neighbors show up. This second year, it more than doubled because we've been doing other little events like that at the pool. And it is becoming more of a neighborhood now. And I think if we start doing things like that at the pool and these areas that don't cost a whole lot of money, but are a lot of fun and competitive. I mean, who doesn't want to win a chili cook-off, right? Things like that can really make it happen. Also, I've reached out to all of the presidents of the HOAs from time to time, asking them, you know, different things and stuff, because I was so new at this, you know, I just didn't know. And we have been able to help distribute different ideas and things to all of the presidents. Some of them have, you know, grabbed hold, some of them haven't. But I think to answer your question, that is one of the ways that we can help do that.
Okay, that's good. Soccer was really, I was there on a soccer day. It was.
Yeah,
it was
soccer
insane.
and flag football are nuts.
Yeah,
so.
those are nuts, but, okay, that's a good idea.
So keeping, again, I'm gonna go back to, we're in budget.
Yeah.
And if these ideas, if they're not funded in next fiscal year's budget, we're a year and a half out. And I'm not saying we have to do any improvements. I'm just saying if the funding is the limitation, we are in budget discussions. And we have quarterly president's council meetings. We have, most emails of the CAMs and the presidents. Now, if we send it and they don't pass it on to the residents, that's a different issue, but we have been beefing up our communications through our district website and Facebook. I'm not necessarily on Nextdoor, but you know, I'm in that Gateway community page. I see what, you know, some comments that are being said. But I think this is the method, you know, inviting those people that either have complaints, concerns, or praises to come here and speak their mind, put it on public record, to go to the board meetings. So again, the board as a whole wants you all to look at all of our amenities, and maybe if you take something from here, do you put it here, or do you do away with that? Do you add something? I know Maria had also submitted some very reasonably priced ideas, like some signage for the linear park, some benches, bike racks, like those little things that we could make improvements that wouldn't necessarily break the bank. That were some good ideas. So again, when you were out there, I mean, what did you guys see were the needs? Did you have a chance to go up to the commons and see the land, and did you have a vision?
The pool definitely can use, at least umbrellas. I went to the pool a couple of weeks ago and the first thing I noticed is not one umbrella out. Except where you sit at the tables, but to lay out.
What are you
definitely
talking
should-
about?
Yeah, should need some umbrellas.
Like a larger shade structure?
You don't even need a large, just umbrellas over the lounge chairs, so you can lay out and not bake in the sun
Mhm.
the whole time. Little things like that, music. Probably be a good idea. I mean, I think those are cheap little things that could be done. That's not that big of a deal.
So my question is, how much do we want to micromanage as a committee to the activities here? You know, for example, we could use the fun park to have the chili cook-off. We could use the fun park or some other place for my music venue. Are these things that if people want to do, that they always have to present it for the okay of the Board of Supervisors or through our committee? Can we figure out some other way that activities can occur by just calling the office and say, we would like to do this, is it being used for anything else? And can we go ahead and do it?
So we have recently implemented Facilitron. We did not, I don't know that did we expand it to the fun park? I don't recall.
No.
I mean, there's opportunities for the residents to rent certain spaces.
You're talking rent, I'm talking about not having to pay a fee.
Like a community organized.
It's a
type thing.
community organized thing to benefit the
I
community.
would say if the district's hosting that event, yes, I think that would be easy to, I mean, it's a public space regardless, but once you start to get an organized event, you're enticing more folks than would come on its original use, and then you start, I know what our attorney's gonna say. He's gonna want insurance, he's gonna want liability forms, he's gonna want, approvals, but I think if the district were to host that type of event, there would be some leniency. I don't necessarily know that we're at the event stage right now. I know this was kind of the music in the park was a pilot, project that this committee wanted to start up. But I think right now, at least right now, and with the time crunch with budget, it's what do you see as the future of our parks and rec amenities? Do we, maintain status quo and keep rolling, or do we add a couple small things or add a couple big things or add everything?
Yeah, like this master plan, I think we should, if it's in the budget, again, nobody knows what the budget is yet. I don't understand why like a couple pickleball courts, a basketball court, cement, some lines and a net. It can't be that much to put it in. Where it would start improving things. I mean, the basketball court at the fun park is basically, it's all chopped up. I mean, it's not, it has to be replaced. So basically you need a new basketball court anyway. So I would think moving it to this central location would be the best thing, but that's my opinion. And a couple pickleball courts, tennis court. And it's just cement and a net and some lines on it. I can't imagine it being that expensive.
So the initiatives, again, will come from your budget discussion, and we're doing the same thing at the board level. On May 4th, they have a workshop, and we're gonna ask them what their budget initiatives are. The intent would be for you all to come to a consensus on what your ideas would be for next fiscal year, and then we as staff will take that back and get some cost estimates and things like that. That way we're talking, ballpark numbers, no pun intended. And that way it's not, far left field numbers that are 2 years old. So,
So I guess we have to have a budget meeting.
Yeah, so.
I mean, you can talk through some of these ideas now because, I mean,
Well, can we move to item 8?
it's your meeting.
Can we move to item 8?
Sure, if everybody's done with, master plan discussion. Further add to it? No? Alright, so then. Item A, fundamental discussion for the fun park.
Okay, I think this is something that I brought up that our committee needs to decide. We're either going to recommend to the Board of Supervisors to sell off the fun park, or we're going to keep it and develop it. And I think that is a very important part of figuring out, the budget, because if we decide that we're going to recommend unloading it, then it doesn't need to be a part of our discussion. Now, since the time of our last meeting, uh, somebody posted a vehement problem that they had with the administration building being where it's going to be built. And I think you have the list, because I sent it in. And you probably saw the text. And the biggest complaint was the fact that we're losing green space. When I first joined the committee, I thought, let's just unload the fun park. But then when I read the comments that were floating around social media, and I saw how many people were upset with the fact that that the district is giving up green space, I really did some soul searching, and I thought, if we decide as a committee to recommend to the Board of Supervisors to unload the fun park, we're just going to get the wrath of a significant part of the community. It's going to say, you're giving away green space. And I thought about the economic side of it. The church is not going to want to purchase it. They have enough land for their parking lot. There's nothing you can do. A developer's not going to want to come in there. Can't put more homes back there. And the amount of money that we would probably get for that, I think someone mentioned it would be like, valued at under 200,000. I mean, in the larger scheme of things, that's a drop in the bucket. And my personal opinion is that we ought to keep the green space that we have and spend the money to develop it and make it into something. And I have some ideas that I'd like to pass through about what could be done with the fun park to make it more attractive, if I may. One of the things that I am extremely jealous about with my friends that live over at Pelican Preserve is the fact that they have a craft center. They have a building with a craft center. They have a wood shop for their people, and they have a craft center and gathering place, a recreational center for their people. And I really think that we have enough room at the fun park to make a building that looks like the homes that are currently adjacent to the fun park, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 square feet, where a meeting room could be built. You could have some rooms for people to do get together for crafts. You could have a workshop, you could get some instrument tools there for woodworking. You could probably get companies like DeWalt or Home Depot or Lowe's to say, if you name it after us, we'll give you the equipment. You can construct it so that the bathrooms would be on an outside wall, which would be shared with bathrooms which are accessible to people on the outside that would be using the fun park. And we have an architect that's probably going to be a part of our thing. So he and I could get together and I could share my
Well,
architecture.
You can't get together outside of a regularly scheduled posted meeting.
Yes. No, at a meeting. No, I
Okay, okay.
Once he's a part of the committee, and that way, and then for the remaining green space that's there, we could develop it. Someone mentioned, I think, Robert, you mentioned about having
Gardens.
the planters there for
Yeah.
a victory garden. There's plenty of room for that. The volleyball would have to go because there's a big tree right there. And people would get really upset if we took that big tree out. Basketball court could be used for that. I have folks, we have a brand new hobby shop a couple miles. They're interested that perhaps we could have a radio control climbing area where they have a activity where these vehicles climb over the rocks, or small, cars for racing around there. I think that we should, number one, keep it, and number two, develop it the way I mentioned. Or at least have discussion towards that.
Yeah, I think we should definitely keep the land. I mean, the way things are going right now, I don't think they're gonna be building up there.
You say a developer won't buy it, but geez, if they're gonna put, the apartment complex they're planning across the street from the 7-Eleven, they'll figure out a way of putting something there that would clog up the area even more. I agree. We got to keep that land. I apologize. My kids need to be picked up from FGCU today. My wife's flight didn't get in time, so I gotta leave. And so I apologize, but I'm in agreement with you. Keep the land, develop it.
So can we at least get it passed through us that we're going, I'll make a motion that we recommended the board of supervisors to keep the fun part.
Second.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay.
To keep
Thank
the
you all.
park.
We'll let you know about the next meeting date.
Budget meeting would be great.
Okay. So
So I guess that also encompasses B, land use considerations.
Yeah, because if we want to put up a recreational building there, and I think if it looks like the adjacent homes, the people that live next door are not going to bitch and moan about it.
we'll watch your language.
'Cause of- Well, it's not going to generate noise.
Mhm.
It won't generate noise. It'll be quiet, but it'll give people an opportunity to come over and say, hey, you want to go to the. And it could also make money because you could rent out the meeting room for parties. You could rent it out for other people that want to have meetings there. And so there is the possibility of generating income from that.
I will say that there is a green space right here that would accommodate an enclosed air conditioned building, just as an aside.
I think that's a neat idea, but I have two questions. The first is, who's gonna manage all these activities in there? When I actually worked on the design for Pelican Preserve and for the town center, and they actually have an infrastructure, a group that manages all those amenities. And they have a club person that does all of the times and schedules and make sure that there are materials and things. So how would we be able to do that, do the same thing and manage that? That's gonna be an interesting question.
I would imagine you would have to either hire a company that does that or talk, or the district would hire somebody to do that. I think if it's a way that you could show that it can generate income to the point of offsetting those costs, that might pass.
I don't know how, so it would be a separate little club, its own little club, and people would pay to be in the club?
Well, it could be similar to the pool. There's a fee to belong to the pool.
Not,
And
not our pool,
No,
not our pool.
Not our pool?
Nope.
No, it's free.
It's free
It's
for all
always
gateway
free.
I thought there was a fee, I'm sorry.
No, sir. So it's kind of, I'm concerned about how
Yeah.
we would manage it, maybe a long-term plan, but maybe for the short term, let's just do the gardens,
Yeah.
keep it green. Let's see if we can get people involved.
Let's get some
Long-term,
basic
it's
amenities
events.
going before we're starting to build buildings and everything.
Yeah, cause
Yeah.
if we, if we want to do the thing over where the pool is, you've got that expense, now you want to build in here, all of a sudden the prices are
Yeah.
going up, so I think it's a really neat idea to have something to do, but it kind of gets back to my idea that getting the community involved to actually have them, it's almost like making our own gateway club, not like golf club, but a community club, that's where that would come in, I think.
Possibility if if you're having woodworking there and you're gonna have the Mahjong club or this club, that, well, if you wanna use the room, this is what it costs.
Well, and you talk about green space and, if these assets are replaced in kind or if they're removed, you could, like, let's use the volleyball court as a perfect example. If that volleyball court were to go away, you could convert that into green space or the gardens or whatever else it may be.
Yes.
There's a lot of room back there. There's a lot of garden room space. I don't think we could sell off enough lots to do it.
I will be frank, I think we are at the point with the fun park where either we need to make a large investment and get these amenities up to par or do something else with it. The useful life of these items are coming to an end. You know, they were put in the early 15 years old. And as we all know, if you don't maintain your items over time, your vehicle, your house, you know, the condition just worsens. So
Plus, just on a side note, when you build a building, you take away the ability for water to run off. And then you have to also have parking. So now we're gonna have to have possibly more parking. So once you have hard surface, you need a place for water to run off. So then it might have to be that we have a retention or a detention pond. And so now that's unusable. Now all this area that you think in your head is usable, it may not be as big as you think. So just, there's a lot of parts to the pieces, but I still like the idea.
Well, the reason that, with the green space, if you make it an athletic field, for example, there was discussion to put soccer back there. The houses that are there, the people are just really gonna vehemently oppose having all of that additional noise and kids running around and the ball's gonna get kicked in their backyard. If we were to build a recreational center where things were on the inside, they're not, I would be surprised if they would complain about that. And, it would be a very big expenditure, you know, you're talking $100 square foot or $200 square foot. You have $1 million building sitting back there. But I think as a concept, if people knew, because I would love to do woodworking. I don't have enough room in my house in Gateway Greens to do it, but if I had some place to do it, I would pay a membership to be able to go over there and play with their stuff. You could have people come in. We had somebody that wanted to use the pool so she could give lessons. We have area artists that would probably come over and charge a fee to put on art classes for people. You know, I think there's tremendous stuff. And yeah, you know, you're right. We could put it over at the pool park. But like, well, what are we going to do with this? That's going to keep the people happy. And you all know me, I would like to have a bathroom there. And you're not going to put, because to me, that's the biggest deterrent on why I don't go there. You know, we know that half of the community here is an elderly community, you know, elderly folks. We all have, at least the men have prostate issues.
So I'll go back to, we need to take a step back and look at this at the bigger picture. We have, each site has its own constraints, and I'll use the soccer complex as a perfect example. If you've come out here on soccer night, you've seen how crazy it is with parking. Parking is a constant issue out here. How do we solve that? Short-term solutions, or do we look at a long-term solution? We've got a playground here, couple pavilions here. We have a concession stand here. The challenge is at the fun park. Bathroom is an example. That's a perfect example. Usage. At the pool, we've heard usage is an issue. And we've got all of these amenities. We've got the dog park, and that's got a good solid 250 members, I would say, guesstimating. Cheryl could probably guess better, but about 200. Again, we need to take a step back and look at the global, because I'll tell you, just from my experience, if you have different sites, you have staffing that you have to do that. And generally you should have 2 staff, and then you have hours of operation. You're duplicating a lot of things. And I think the intent of the commons was to try to get the parks amenities consolidated up there. But I mean, we have a soccer complex here and we have a dog park here. Do those go hand in hand. I know we've had some issues lately with folks taking chairs out of the dog park over to the soccer complex. There's again, try to take a step back. I don't want us to just, own in on one item or one asset. How can we better all of our amenities as a whole? Not that I'm saying anything bad about the building back there, but just my experience is the NIMBY, not in my backyard. Ed's, I mean, it's in his backyard, and we've clearly with historical, there's been issues. We've cut down one basketball hoop and then we made it a smaller hoop because people were using the park as it was intended. So again, we want to take a step back and look at the big picture here.
Biggest problem is.
Come up here. Come talk so we can hear you on the record.
Hi, Dave Ruth again. The biggest problem is we're always running out of time and there's got to be a budget all this has got to be put into in June 1st. So it sounds like, I mean, we've got a lot of good ideas flowing around here, but we really need to get together as a group and put together, like for each area. She started with the dog park. I thought, we need a tarp. We need some chairs. Those are things that we can put prices to and say, let's get this in the budget or we lose it. If we don't speak up now, we'll lose it. So we don't want to go a year and a half away, from improving each of these areas. And maybe we don't get a building now, but at least that's on the list of things that could be considered either here or over at the park where the pool is, and if we could get together as a group, and I know you'll participate, I'll participate, even if we're not voted in yet, to get together with you guys and come up with lists of things that we could see being done, either small scale or larger scale, and then at least bring it to their attention so they can put it into the overall budget and get Parks and Rec at least represented. So we don't lose out on the opportunity to have I think you guys did something with bathrooms over at Fun Park. You were gonna bring in some,
With consideration.
oh, you were considering that, but that still needs to be put in that budget, and if we can come up with a list like that thing that I passed out for the pool. I'm pretty confident that the things that are on that list for the pool are things that are reasonable, but are also things that can be done over time. If they decide not to put, they want to go at $50,000 increments for 3 years, we'll eventually get where we want to get to. And that's right now, we don't have you guys haven't met long enough, and we certainly haven't been involved to where everybody's like got it on a piece of paper. And I'm a firm believer, if you don't put it on a piece of paper, it's never gonna happen. It's just talk. Okay, and there's a lot of things that are put on paper, like the park. That when we get to the park, I'm gonna go bananas, because there's a lot of things that I played college basketball. Okay, and when you start taking hoops down and moving them up and stuff like that, you're gonna bring a lot of people into the neighborhood that are gonna tear that place up. And I don't want to see that from the pool. Just as a pool user, if I never use anything else, because I can barely walk now. Okay, but if I don't need pickleball or tennis courts and all those kinds of things, even though other people in the community might. So let's kind of brainstorm what the ideas are, big picture, like she's talking about, and come up with things that we can do. And then I think we're going to get someplace. But if you don't have that meeting soon, we're going to lose out.
Well, with all due respect to that, our budget budget discussions will be on things which already exist. So the pool already exists, it needs improvement, the dog park already exists, it needs improvement. And this is a sizable budget, and that probably will be our focus on the budget. My concept with the fun park is to, the same way that a couple years ago, district came up with that master plan, sent it to everybody to hear ideas. What I would like to see eventually after our budget talks is to go ahead and come up with a plan and present it to the community and say, what do you all think about this utilization of this land that we have to create something that we don't have? We don't have a recreational center with meeting space for people to come to. And just to be able to hear what folks in the community would say. They might say, hey, that is really a great idea. We would be willing to spend money. Or they might say, no, no interest. I'm only presenting it as something.
Away from something like that.
Yeah, this is for not the
Year's
immediate.
budget away from that.
Yeah, this is going to be, because this be a big ticket item,
You're
but
just planting a seed right
yeah, but one of our things that we're trying to figure out, should we recommend to the Board of Governors, and we're going to recommend get rid of the Board of Supervisors, get rid of the fun park or keep the fun park, and we just voted we're going to keep it, so. My thoughts are develop a plan for it that we could present to the community and say, what do you think about it? But yeah, for the budget items, I would imagine that pool and dog park, since they already exist, that's going to be an expenditure we'll have to address. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, if I jumped on your.
Soccer.
As I mentioned, the residents, oh, I'm sorry. As I mentioned, the residents would be willing to donate monies to buy the chairs. You just have to let me know how much the chairs cost, but a better quality of the chairs that are there now. The chairs now are rusting out.
Do we have a list of everything that we need to do?
We have a list of assets. We have a list of assets,
Okay,
which part of the encouragement of you all going to these sites was to see the condition of those assets. We can give you that list per location. Or we can schedule a one-on-one with either Tim or myself to take a visit, to those. We have, from a staff perspective, made recommendations on what we foresee that needs to be, fixed for next fiscal year. But again, we'll look to you all for the support of that.
because the way I do projects, and it's kind of like, you have a list of things that need to be done. And then you put A is the most important and B is C, D. And then if there's 3 A's and you go 1, 2, 3, what's the most, that's how we need to organize this. And then we'll probably, let's do some quick, we'll talk about what we would do first, what a A1 is, and just organize it that way. Because right now, I'm all kind of all over the place. So I'm trying to look at the big picture, but the big picture has a lot of little pieces, so I can't really say, well, globally, this project needs to be priority. Because I don't know, there might be something falling apart that
So
could be.
a recurring,
Interesting.
a recurring theme at each meeting where we'll end up on sort of what you just said. So all the ideas will go around and we end up coming back to that we need a plan.
Mhm.
And I don't know how many, I know that Bob's taken a look at the parks. I don't know if you guys have really kind of knuckled down and looked at the stuff. So I think that's where we can look to you guys and say, what is that plan? Staff has an idea of where we need to go. But the whole point of having this committee is to have some encouragement behind that. So,
But, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
But at the same time, we still don't know the budget, and if we have $20,
That's,
They're really
that,
it's gonna be.
that's the point,
Is gonna
is
be the whole-
we have what you propose to the board is the budget, is what you're proposing to be the budget for the items that you foresee that need to be done next fiscal year. The board sets the budget. So
Okay.
we have this fiscal year's budget, which we're operating under, but we're setting next year's numbers. So if you have initiatives like we're doing with the Board of Supervisors, if they have initiatives and they say, Chelsea, I want staff to paint the building purple. Well, then that's an initiative. And if they vote on that, then we're going to go get estimates to paint the building purple. And then we're going to bring that back to them as part of the final adoption of their budget.
So
Well-
what if we took, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
What if we took your list? Because it sounds like we're just talking around in circles. So let's just take your list as a starting point and we'll start at one location at a time with your list and color in whatever other items we think should be added to it. Then when we have the budget meeting, we can have an intelligent conversation about what we're prioritizing. Your list is important because you're day to day,
So
right?
we
You're at the
look at it,
heartbeat.
we look at existing, and if
Okay.
there's new initiatives, that would come from you all.
Okay.
And I mean, from them as well too. We've heard from both the dog park and the pool of new initiatives that they'd like to see.
Please.
I just want to make sure there's Flavia Walsh from Magnolia Lakes. I just want to make sure there's clarity within the committee. So we have, and I wasn't sure if I could hear that. So we have a current budget right now. So I think what would be helpful for them to know is this is the budget, this is the money that's left over. That's side item. I do believe, I know that Tim is working on a list of the amenities, so one there, go out there and because I think it's important for them, because they may all go visit the same site, but they may look at different things. So I think the checklist that Tim is working on it, which has every item, and he passes that on to them, everybody is going and say, okay, playground. They can mark their notes, and then to Susan's point, they can come together, everybody look at the same items. They will score it, they come together, and then they make that decision. One thing that I caution, and I don't think we necessarily have to hold on, regarding the leftover money that's on the budget for parks and recs. If there's something that needs it, that's gonna, eat out whatever the money that's left, that's a board decision. That board will make that decision then if they need to reallocate money or not. If it's a priority or if it's something that is a safety issue, let the board make that decision. But we definitely want you guys to come to us and say, look, we went out there. I think that was our vision. We went out there, we saw everything. Those items here, repairing, it's not even a point. It needs to be replaced for whatever reason. Those items we can definitely repair and will give us another 10 years. So things like that. So I just want to make sure that not them to hold on so much onto what's now and what they can do.
So Carlo, to your point, I think you hit the nail on the head. You went to the pool and you said, hey, they need more shade here other than just at the tables. That's a perfect thing to bring back. And we could say, hey, okay, this is the cost.
And in my final comment, I just want to make sure, because I heard Bob, I'm gonna call Bob because I know you by Bob. Bob, regarding the area that's gonna be multi-use, we have that incorporated at the admin building. I think we failed to mention that to them, so.
I did mention.
Okay, because I know I stepped out, so what you wanted to create, we already put that in, and it is on over there, it's a plan for that, so that's gonna be even sooner. Not saying that you couldn't develop the fun park, but that particular use that you want to promote, it's already checked down,
We
at
have-
least that.
We have multi-purpose rooms. We have with the admin building, it's kind of like a airplane. One side is the staff side and the other side is more geared towards the public. So we would have this conference room. We would have some conference rooms that could be rented out for the public.
The clubs and things like that, so you can
Yeah.
have a sewing club, you can have all that, there is a room for that the residents can use, so just those two things.
So we will, like I said, Tim got an asset inventory list done last week. We will pretty that up and distribute that to you all by the end of this week. It's gonna be rough data, just, inventory lists and what we saw at each site. And then we'll get that to you if you guys can take a look at that. And again, we're looking at current conditions, repairing. If there's new stuff, that would be something for you all to look at and propose. Go ahead.
I have a question after we're done with this part of the discussion.
Okay, are you guys good with that? So we'll try to get you the asset list?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay,
All right, so Mike,
we'll talk about scheduling that.
so I know that there's the Parks and Recreation Committee and there's the Security Committee. Isn't there also a pool committee?
No, there's
There's,
they,
so that-
a pool task force that they've started.
no, I mean, something for
No,
one of our,
that falls under your,
That's full
that falls
cover.
under your purview.
okay.
Yeah, Pelican has a ponds committee and a safety and security.
So that's what it is. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. As there, at the last meeting, we don't do all business, new business, but at the last meeting, we talked about my proposal to do music in the park, and I was wondering what the status of that was.
So that's, we can pick out some dates that are available based on, I think you would looked at a Friday. And Fridays until the field's closed, not gonna be very good. Supposing we go ahead with it, figure in 3 weeks planning. We could do it on a Saturday now. Or if we went into June when the fields are closed, you'd have a much better option of days to do it on.
We were talking about the pavilion.
The pavilion, and I'm basing those days on our soccer park usage, because you pretty much gotta have parking for what you want to do, and we're not gonna have it while the soccer's on.
What about having it at the fun park in the very first few, because I'm sure you're not gonna get hundreds of people showing up.
Yeah, but then we're back into the whole bathroom situation again, so I'm not
Yeah,
sure how
true,
comfortable I
fair.
am
Yeah,
doing
that's
something
true.
like that there, yeah.
Good try. That was, yeah.
That could be on our
Yeah,
budget.
I mean,
I
love bringing stuff
No,
there.
yeah, you're right, you're right.
Yeah, I don't
Mhm.
recall ever offering Friday. or
Yeah, somehow Friday's stuck in my head.
I thought it was Sunday late afternoon, early evening.
So unless we go to June, Sundays would probably pretty much be out as well, just because of our soccer leagues. I mean, I got the calendar up right here.
You don't think it'll be too hot, too rainy?
I mean,
Might be.
it could be.
It's Florida.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be. But,
You gotta have that in the winter then.
yeah, we have games right up till 9 o'clock until June. But for whatever reason, we're not booked solid on Saturdays. For instance, the 13th, the 20th, the 27th of May.
Okay, so let's assume that this probably will take off. And then all of a sudden we're into the fall and the soccer's there again. Where do you envision we might be able to move this to? Do you think we can move it over to the pool area?
I personally wouldn't have a problem with that. I think that would be great. Also, it would bring more people up there and get them involved in the perspective park that I think is under consideration. So, yeah.
Okay,
Why can't we start with the?
Yeah,
pool?
start it there.
Start with the pool, because the soccer fields
Mm-hmm.
are what they are.
So, and again, no real problem with that. It just based on timing with the pool, we're going to have to staff it.
Let's do this.
Over here, we don't have to staff it.
So hopefully we'll have a meeting in 2 weeks and we can look at the dates and put together a list of dates and locations prior to that meeting and bring it to you guys then.
That's cool.
And I would suggest just kicking it back to June, because it will take probably 3 weeks to get, I mean, you know the bands, but all that. They're not gonna come out next week if you call them today. So if we pick a date to do this, and we come back with that, let's try and shoot for sometime in June.
well, I was just hoping at first to have like karaoke session. Or people just show up, I wanted to put out in social media, say, we're gonna have a bluegrass afternoon, bring our instruments and how many folks leave a comment, do you think you're gonna show up? Until we, get bona fide bands that usually want money, but I was hoping for something a little more informal to start,
Mhm.
just to see what interest there is. And the pavilion was the best place because we had electric hookup and, we could do it there. Or we could do it on the pool deck as a form of entertainment for folks.
We'll come up with some locations and times and dates. Okay.
Yes, so should we set a meeting date for the budget?
1 week's time.
So why don't we just do it two Wednesdays from today?
That would be May 9th.
Georgia, are you listening?
And
Yes. I think
Will
it's
you
May
look at the
9th.
boardroom schedule whenever we
that's
determine?
Thursday.
Yes, I'll check that out.
May 10th.
Okay.
That's
It's the second. Let's see.
So how
So
about 17th then?
May 10th looks fine.
Not here though? 10th? So, how about,
Doesn't have to be a one.
I just figured make it easy, everything on Wednesday.
That's cool. Got it.
May 17th then? Is that okay with everybody?
The 17th is good.
17th? Okay.
16?
16th is fine.
I can
Anybody
do
else?
that too.
All right, so
Yeah,
Tuesday,
What about you,
what about
Tuesdays are my best day.
Georgia? Is the room available on Tuesday the 16th?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Okay.
so let me just warn you all. So if we have discussions here, the board packet for the 18th meeting has to go out on the 11th. So.
For the
we're not-
16th meeting, you're saying.
Hold on, Georgia. Our Board of Supervisors are gonna
Mhm.
get a draft agenda on the 18th.
Okay,
Our packet for that closes on the 11th.
gotcha.
So your meeting
So-
is gonna be after.
That's not
Oh,
soon
okay,
enough.
so that's not
Nope,
good.
can't do it then.
So
So-
at a minimum, you could, I mean, you guys can do it, listen, you can do it without me. I prefer to be there, but
So how about
so
third?
we have to have a week's notice, so it would have to be either on the 4th or the 5th.
All right. All right, well, we can't please everybody. So I say the
You-
4th then. Want to get it in, then there's no point in having it if it's not gonna be, if it's after.
The 4th is our board meeting.
Could we do it in the morning? I mean,
Yes, that would be fine.
does morning work for you all? If not, I mean, I'm pretty open on Friday the 5th.
So let's do it.
I'm not here that week. I mean, you guys can do it without me.
How about, let's do it Friday the 5th then.
Friday, 5th is fine, morning.
Go to mine.
So afternoon,
Early,
Either way.
early afternoon, I fly out that night. So if we do it like 1. Georgia, how's the boardroom look for 1 o'clock on the 5th?
That would be fine.
Perfect. 1
Okay.
o'clock on May 5th. Is everybody good with that? I know
Yes.
Mr. Moore is not. Okay, so what we will get to you in the interim, we are going to get you the asset list, where I'm going to get you the March financials, so you can see where we're at. I'll try to, point you in the right direction of where the Parks and Rec budget is. Make notes, because I'm promising things, and if I don't make notes, then I won't remember. Parks and Rec financials. Is there anything else that you guys that you would like to see as part of this? We'll include the 2 requests that were made today of those groups.
those asset things,
Okay,
what needs repairs and what.
We'll get you the asset list, yep.
Okay.
Dog park, West. Okay, Tim, can you think of anything else?
What format is that list gonna be in, Word or Excel?
Right now,
Excel. It'll be perfect. I'll make it in Excel.
Chelsea has.
Okay, I like Excel.
Not as good as Laura, but I'm pretty good. Absolutely. Just reach out. You guys, I mean, you guys. Until they can do it now together, but as soon as they're elected on this board, they cannot do it together.
I think, I'm sure both of you have my number. I think I've given you my cards and, Dave, you know where to find me. So.
The board thinks that
Yeah, so you guys can do it as, you guys can, because you're still members at large, you can do it before the 4th together. But after the 4th, then
So we're looking at for the very beginning of next week.
You guys
I'll stay, we'll
figure
talk
that.
after.
Okay.
So this will be, the only item on this will be budget, and then Tim will follow up with dates and times for the music in the park.
Yep.
Which probably would be, you know, first of many activities. I think somehow on our agenda here for our regular meetings, we need to have, under items, activities. So we can kind of talk about what activities without having to each time put in an agenda form. That the program.
That's the only way it gets on the agenda is for us to put an agenda item in. So everything that you fill out is what we have to fill out.
Okay.
I feel your pain, because every time we do an agenda item, we have to type in all that information too.
If it's just a routine, this is going to be a part of every.
Once you do it one time, then we can just duplicate it from that point on and carry it forward
Okay.
on the agendas in the future. Right? Is there, so we have the next meeting agenda, just the budget, and then we'll leave the regularly scheduled meeting on for the end of next month.
Right.
And then, of course, always, if you guys have any questions, reach out, let us know. Send us an email.
Questions about the pool? I'll make a pool. So the servicing of the pool, like the maintenance of the water, checking the water coming, is that done in-house or do you have a company? that does it? Okay. So would it be possible to approach a company like Penny, which is in the business in our neighborhood, and say, would you like to make an expenditure, painting rights on, going to be putting out umbrellas? Would you like to pay for that? Or would you like to pay for some other thing and, figure out a way to, like a
I'm sure
baseball
that could be
park?
done, but then
Do
it
some
comes down to,
responsibility.
for right now,
Yeah.
and we don't really allow signs at the soccer fields to stay up. They can put them up during games, but they must take them down. So I don't think that would be something that the board would probably pass. That's just the way I'm looking at it now. And I think any company would be smart to want to do that, but I'm not sure that's aesthetically going to work for the community.
Well, it doesn't even have to be a sign. You can put it on.
Yeah, no, you're saying on the umbrella.
On the
or
umbrella,
something,
yeah.
right? But that puts us in the advertising business.
Yeah.
So that would be something we could talk to the board about, or you guys could propose to the
I mean,
board.
I'm just looking at
Yeah.
some way to generate.
Generate income,
To
yeah.
offset some of the expenses.
Why when we were talking with the dog park folks, when I was at the beach, we had a memorial bench program. And that was a way to increase your seating, available seating throughout the island, but also have some impact with residents who want to do a memorial bench. So, and that's kind of the proposal that we did with the dog park was, hey, you donate the funding, we can get the bench and get the little plaque. And that's a way to meet in the middle, I'd say.
So that does exist already.
We're
Or it's a
working on
proposal.
implementing it.
Okay.
Right, well, if there's anything else, I've got some homework, it seems like, and we'll try to get you guys the asset list by the end of the week. Right? May 5th at 1 PM. That's gonna be the budget meeting.
It's the last Wednesday of the month at 2:30.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at the same time.
If that's the last, if that's the last Wednesday.
Yep.
yeah. At 2:30.
All right,
All right, so that's the meeting adjourned.
all right, thank you. Georgie, cut everything off.
Good job, Carl.